There's a bill in play in Texas that basically says thou shalt post the 10 commandments into every public school classroom. We're going to talk about that and more on this special episode of First Liberty Live. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard. We are obviously at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention just outside of Dallas, Texas, near the airport here. I've got my old friend Jonathan Saenz next to me, who heads up Texas Values. Hey, Jonathan.
Great to be with you, Stuart, and it's great to be among so many friends. The event's in Texas, so of course you and I are here, right?
It's absolutely great to see all these people that we've known over the years and hang out with them. Jonathan, I want to start by giving you a chance to give your elevator speech. In 30 seconds, what does Texas Values do?
But Texas Values is the largest faith, family, and freedom nonprofit Christian organization in the state. We focus on the areas of the courts, the legislature, and the media. We're also the official Family Policy Council for the state of Texas with focus on the family. And I like to say, as Kelly taught me, we try to make every law and policy in Texas consistent with biblical values.
Now, when I go to your website, I notice that among the issues that you talk about, you've got religious liberty right at the top there as one of the key things that you do. Why is that so important for Texas, of all places? You'd think we've already got that covered.
We do. Well, look, and a lot of people say that sometimes. They're like, oh, Texas, you guys are probably doing great things. We probably need to focus on other states and all that. And there may be some truth to that. We're in a good position. But to he much is given, much is expected, right? So I think we also feel a responsibility to never let up 1 inch on religious freedom, right? And in many ways to be leading other states and other parts of the country to be strong on religious freedom, right? We're one of the first states to put in God We Trust in our Senate and our House. We have the 10 Commandments monument on the northwest part of our state capitol, which was a case that went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Our current governor, Greg Abbott, who was Attorney General at the time, argued that case. That was a 5-4 decision, but we did win. And so I just think that just is a part of who we are in Texas. But religious freedom is a big part of what we do, and it always has been, because it's in the First Amendment of the Constitution. And as a Christian organization, if we don't have religious freedom, we're not going to have the rest of those rights as well.
Texas right now is right up there with a number of other states that are leading the way on a couple of initiatives I especially want to talk to you about. You just touched on them. The first one is putting the national motto in public schools, "In God We Trust." Tell us what's going on here in Texas.
Yeah, well, there's been 2 different times in 2023 and 2021 that laws have been passed to make it clear that we're going to display our national motto, "In God We Trust," in the public schools. And why wouldn't we? I mean, why isn't it not already there? But some of it is a response because you've had people act as if there's something wrong with that there's some violation of the so-called Establishment Clause and all this other stuff that people make up, and there's really no substance to it, there's no truth to it, and why are we not more proud of that, right? And we look at the founding of our country, our heritage, and so look in our states, and when the kids are learning these things, they're going to forget about that, and some people want that. They want them to not know about our heritage and history. They don't want God anywhere near a student, or certainly anywhere near in government. But you and I know, Stuart, that is not the standard that the U.S. Supreme Court has put out. That's a hostility to religion standard, not an accommodation standard, which is what the Supreme Court has said is permissible. But it's important to win court cases, and y'all do the best at that on religious freedom. But we also want to go the next step, which is now we have this freedom, let's do something with it, which means let's put things like the national motto, "In God We Trust," in our public schools.
Why is it important for young people to see those 3 or 4 words, "In God We Trust," in the hallway when they get to school in the morning? What does that add to their lives, really? A lot of people would say, it doesn't do anything.
Well, first of all, I think it allows them to be reminded of our history, the system of laws that relate to some of these things, and sort of who we are and where we came from and how we got started as a country, because that's what we still want to be. And as a young child, those are some of the things you're going to want to learn early on, right? And it could have an impact on how you see the entire world. But I also think it could give people and students sort of this calming effect. Look at all the things that are bombarding kids in schools now. You got drag queens that are doing sexual performances at libraries, and you're telling me there's no room for "In God We Trust" in the public schools? But I do think that allows students some comfort. They can see that there's something in our country that says there's someone that's more powerful than we are, but also it gives them, I think in a just a very difficult atmosphere sometimes in public schools, kids to have maybe just a little bit of relief and take those few minutes and have something very calm and very, smooth, and, just an opportunity to go, you know what? I feel welcomed at this school, and I also feel like God's looking out for me.
Now, the other one that's in play right now, and my understanding is it's going to be getting attention the next week or so, is a bill concerning the Ten Commandments. What's interesting about this is, as you mentioned, on the Capitol grounds in Austin, where you're based, there is a granite monument of the Ten Commandments spelling them out. This would put them in print on the walls in every public school classroom. Tell me how that's faring, what's the purpose of it, what's the goal?
Well, look, if it's good enough for the Ten Commandments to be displayed in the Supreme Court, it should be good enough for them to be displayed in public school classrooms. And the Supreme Court, the standard that exists now, after y'all's win on the Coach Kennedy, the Kennedy versus Bremerton case, the standard has been restored that allows these type of things. But as I was talking about earlier, and I want to finish up this thought because it's very important. You win a court case, and that's incredibly important. But a lot of times the next step is we put the language and these concepts and standards directly and specifically in state law. Because this is going to sound strange to you, Stuart, but I hear it all the time from like public school employees and others. They're like, oh, we don't know what the law is. We're confused. And I will say, well, the Supreme Court has ruled on this. Oh, we don't understand that opinion. So we decided, okay, we'll very simply simplify it for you right here in state law. So they now can say, oh, I have to follow Texas law. And that makes it a lot easier. We did that with celebrating and talking about Christmas in schools. We passed a one-page law that simply says, here's sort of the ways that you can talk about Christmas and have your freedom to speech on these issues in public schools. But until we put in law, we were, I probably caught off some cases for you guys. Y'all were fighting a lot of cases on that. But it was a way to say, listen, we shouldn't be in court on these things anymore. And so the Ten Commandments is the same thing. It relates to our system of laws. It relates to our heritage. It is in many ways the foundation or a contributing part of American society and our civilization and culture. We need to know where we came from to understand where we are now and where we should go. So I think it'll give students an appreciation for that. And they don't have to, it's not forcing anyone to believe a certain way or to follow a certain standard. It simply reminds them a little bit about our history and our culture and our heritage.
I always look when I'm at the Supreme Court, and you mentioned this in passing earlier, but when you're on the outside, you look up at the facade, there's Moses up there right in the middle on the east front of the Supreme Court. On the west side, there are faces around a band around the court, and there's Moses, and it spells it out in case you're not sure, Moses. There are replicas of the Ten Commandments, like two little tablets all through it. It's really woven into our history in such a way that it is the foundation for law, along with other important historical documents, but it is the foundation for law, and young people need to know about that.
No, there's no doubt about it, and I think students are naturally searching for things as a young person, right? Particularly as they move up in certain grades, sort of wondering, where did we come from, or why do people believe a certain way? And some of them may be surprised, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea the Ten Commandments had something to do with that. What was our country like then? How did they go through these steps? But you can look at some of them. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. I mean, these are concepts, whether someone's religious or not, are universal. But I think the foundations of a healthy and really a respectful community and civilization. But if students have not seen them, in their mind, they're going to think that has nothing to do with any connection to law and policy or government or even the public school atmosphere, right? And that's what some people want, Stuart. You and I know people purposely tried to push the Ten Commandments out. The Stone v. Graham case, 40, 50 years ago, just barely got decided in their favor. But they're bombarding with kids, trying to put other things into the school. And so they would love to see the Ten Commandments be pushed out, be kept out, and act as if, for the next generation, that it has nothing to do with America, and that's just simply not true.
Now, before I let you go, many people who are watching this video right now may not know that there is a connection between First Liberty Institute and Texas Values, because it's been some years now since a little bit of history happened regarding the two organizations. I just want to give you a chance to share the connection between our organization and your organization, because you were there when all this happened.
Yeah, well, I actually just came on the interview so I could tell stories about Hiram when I was working there.
Yeah.
If we can do that. No, seriously, I love you, man. You're great. So, look, this is a topic I love talking about, and I try to talk about as often as I can, because I would not be where I am in the work that we have. And certainly God's hand was on everything that I did and I've been doing now. But Kelly Shackelford giving me the opportunity to come work for Free Market Foundation and Liberty Legal Institute, as it was being called at that time, was one of the greatest opportunities that I've ever given, and I knew it. and I didn't let it go, or I didn't take it for granted. And so I had Kelly's continued to be a mentor of mine, but I was employee of, First Liberty Institute, as y'all now are calling the entity, but it was me, it was Hiram and Kelly. We're the only 3 lawyers. But at some point, Kelly was like, we need some help at the state legislature. I had a background in that.
And to put this in context, this is one organization. At the time, it was called Free Market Foundation.
Yeah,
and Kelly was doing some legal work in Texas, but he was also,
Yeah, so if I could say this. So I am the Family Policy Council Director for the state of Texas. First Liberty Institute, that's what they were before. Texas Values is now the Family Policy Council. Kelly Shackelford was the executive director of a state-based Family Policy Council, right? But they were deciding we need to focus more on just court cases and religious freedom. And so they had a big meeting and they said, okay, what are we going to do? And where's that going to put Jonathan? And Kelly said, we need someone still to be state focused. You're already in Austin, because he had sent me down there and I had some success. And he said, what if I help you start your own organization? And I said, you got to be on my board though, if we're going to do this, okay?
And he is still.
And he still is. He was one of the founding board members, and so that's what we did. We started our own organization in 2012, kind of went public 2013, but we've continued the relationship because there's some overlap in ways, sort of some of our strategies, but we're both in Texas, both organizations. There's oftentimes we're working on a policy issue that has a legal angle, or it relates to a court case like the Coach Kennedy case. And so the relationship and the collaboration and the friendship that we have to this day is probably one of the greatest gifts that I've ever been given.
So we have that common bond, I was trying to find the right word, and that history together. And to help clarify for people, your focus is public policy and some legal work here in Texas.
Yeah, there's some isolated situations where, we know a client, or, there's some other, First Liberty or ADF can't get involved, whatever the case may be. Doesn't happen that often, but every now and then it does. I like to say whatever tool we need to bring out of the toolbox. So sometimes we will work on a court case, or we'll work together with First Liberty. There have been some times that we've done that and played different roles. But that's about understanding the strengths of the organizations. I'm going to let y'all do the court cases unless we need to step in. And you guys are so great saying, hey, when it gets more policy, y'all reach out and, we get great things done.
Very good. Jonathan, so good to talk to you. Anything else you want to share before I let you go?
Well, when is this airing? Are we live? Is First Liberty live?
It's going to go out today.
Yeah. So on March 6th, we have a great opportunity for people to come to the Capitol to learn more about what's happening in your state capitol. And you want to learn more about the issues, the Coach Kennedy case, the Coach Kennedy law, the 10 Commandments. March 6th, Thursday, March 6th, is Texas Faith and Family Day at our state capitol. We'd love for you to come down. Lieutenant Governor Riley Gaines. There's going to be a lot of great people there. It's going to be an exceptional event.
Where can people find you online?
TexasValues.org.
All right, very simple. Jonathan Saenz, thank you so much. Always good talking to you. First